Have you ever wondered why some people seem to move through life financially untouched, while others are constantly stressed about bills, debt, and survival? Two people can live in the same city, work similar jobs, earn similar salaries. Yet 10 years later, one has investments, assets, options, freedom, and the other has debt, stress, and no financial breathing room. It's not intelligence. It's not luck. It's not some secret investment only rich families know about. It's thinking. The top 1% don't just have more money. They operate from a completely different financial framework. And if you don't upgrade your framework, you'll keep getting average financial results, no matter how hard you work. Because effort without the right mental model only produces exhausted mediocrity. You can grind for 20 years and still end up financially fragile. Today, I'm going to show you the 11 mental shifts that quietly separate the wealthy from everyone else. Not hype. Not overnight success. Not manifest it and it appears. Mental shifts. Because wealth is built internally before it shows externally. My name is Milton. On this channel, we break down wealth psychology, financial intelligence, and the real systems behind long-term financial freedom. If you're serious about thinking differently from the crowd and building wealth intentionally, then subscribe to this channel. Because average thinking produces average income. And we don't build average here. Let's begin. The wealthy ask one question before spending money. Will this pay me, or will I pay for it? That single question filters almost every financial decision they make. Most people never pause long enough to ask it. They react. They desire. They justify. They swipe. Most people confuse lifestyle with assets. A financed car. Designer watches. Expensive electronics. Luxury apartments. Status vacations. Frequent upgrades. If it drains your cash flow, it is not an asset, regardless of how impressive it looks. An asset puts money in your pocket. A liability pulls money out. It's not emotional. It's mathematical. But here's where it gets psychological. Society rewards visible consumption. Nobody congratulates you for owning shares in an index fund. Nobody applauds you for building retained earnings inside a business. But they will compliment your car. They will notice your watch. They will admire the surface. The wealthy train themselves to ignore social applause. They build assets first. Then they use asset income to fund lifestyle. The middle class funds lifestyle first, and hopes income catches up. That single reversal keeps people stuck for decades. And once lifestyle expands beyond income, stress begins. Debt begins. Financial anxiety begins. Dependence begins. Wealthy thinking delays gratification. Average thinking accelerates it. Most people think in 30-day cycles. Rent. Bills. Next paycheck. Weekend plans. They are financially surviving in monthly increments. Wealthy people think in decades. They make decisions based on where they want to be in 10, 20, 30 years. That long-term lens changes behavior dramatically. Instead of asking, "Can I afford this?" they ask, "Does this move me forward?" Forward financially. Forward strategically. Forward long-term. That one mental pivot eliminates thousands of poor decisions over a lifetime. Short-term thinkers optimize comfort. Long-term thinkers optimize growth. Comfort feels good now. Growth pays later. And growth compounds. That's the part most people underestimate. Compounding works on money. But it also works on habits. Skills. Reputation. Network. Discipline. Every smart decision stacks. Every disciplined month builds invisible strength. The wealthy do not outsource understanding. They may hire advisors. But they understand the game themselves. They know how compound interest works. How taxes work. How inflation erodes savings. How debt structures function. How different asset classes behave. How market cycles repeat. How psychology drives bubbles and crashes. Most people avoid learning about money because it feels complex. But avoiding complexity doesn't eliminate consequences. It guarantees you'll be positioned on the wrong side of them. Financial ignorance is expensive. Very expensive. And the wealthy refuse to pay that price. They would rather feel temporarily uncomfortable learning than permanently uncomfortable struggling. Success with money is mostly behavioral. This is where most people fail. Not knowledge. Behavior. When markets crash, the average person panics. The wealthy prepare. They don't see red numbers and think disaster. They see discounts. When income increases, the average person upgrades lifestyle. The wealthy upgrade investments. When a bonus arrives, the average person celebrates consumption. The wealthy celebrate allocation. The real advantage isn't secret stock tips. It's emotional control. Delayed gratification. Rational decisions under pressure. Money rewards discipline more than intelligence. You don't need to be brilliant. You need to be stable. Most people earn money, then immediately spend it supporting businesses owned by other people. They wake up, trade time for income, then transfer that income to asset owners. They are permanent consumers. The wealthy focus on ownership. Ownership of businesses, real estate, equity, intellectual property, digital platforms, cash flowing systems. They position themselves on the receiving end of transactions. Instead of asking, "What can I buy?" they ask, "What can I build? What can I own? What can I control?" Instead of upgrading devices every year, they upgrade assets. Instead of chasing trends, they create value. That shift changes income ceilings permanently. Because income from labor is capped. Income from ownership scales. You only have 24 hours in a day. But an asset can produce 24 hours a day. The average person thinks investing is risky. But not investing is guaranteed decline. If inflation runs at 4% and your savings earn 1%, you are losing 3% of purchasing power every year. Quietly. Silently. Without emotional drama. Just erosion. The wealthy understand calculated risk. They diversify. They spread exposure. They allocate intentionally. They rebalance. They accept temporary volatility for long-term growth. They understand that risk is not volatility. Risk is ignorance. Risk is concentration. Risk is emotional decision-making. Staying stagnant feels safe. But stagnation is expensive. The wealthy don't complain about taxes. They study them. They structure income intelligently. They use retirement accounts, business entities, depreciation, loss harvesting, strategic compensation structures, legal tax advantages. It's not about evasion. It's about optimization. Two people can earn the same income, and one keeps significantly more. Over 25 years, that difference becomes life-changing. Understanding the rules changes outcomes. Complaining about the rules changes nothing. Wealthy people leverage other people's time, other people's expertise, other people's capital, other people's distribution, other people's systems. They do not attempt to do everything alone, because doing everything alone limits scale. They hire specialists. They build teams. They collaborate. They partner. Leverage amplifies output. But leverage without discipline destroys people. That's why the wealthy use leverage for assets, not lifestyle. Borrowing to acquire appreciating assets can accelerate wealth. Borrowing for consumption accelerates fragility. Scarcity thinking says, "If they win, I lose." Abundance thinking says, "Value creation expands opportunity." The wealthy focus on solving problems. The bigger the problem, the bigger the opportunity. Money flows to value. The market rewards usefulness. When you solve meaningful problems for enough people, income becomes a byproduct. Resentment blocks opportunity. Contribution attracts it. Average savers celebrate stagnant cash. They feel secure seeing money sitting still. Wealthy investors circulate capital. They understand money has velocity. Money sitting idle loses power. Money deployed strategically grows. Capital must move intelligently to multiply. This doesn't mean recklessness. It means intentional circulation. The wealthy are impatient about improving themselves, but patient about results. They are impatient about increasing skills, upgrading knowledge, improving networks, leaving bad environments, fixing weaknesses. But once they build systems, they allow time to work. They don't expect 10 years of wealth in 10 months. They don't panic when growth is slow. They understand that serious wealth is boring in the beginning. Slow, unimpressive, quiet, until it isn't. Poor thinking wants fast results with minimal effort. Wealthy thinking invests heavy effort early for exponential returns later. Now here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people will watch this, agree with it, feel motivated, maybe even take notes, and then return to the same habits tomorrow. Because changing financial outcomes requires changing identity. And identity change is uncomfortable. It requires saying no when you want to say yes. It requires discipline when nobody is watching. It requires choosing investment over impulse. It requires thinking long-term in a short-term world. But if you apply even half of these shifts, your trajectory changes permanently. Not instantly, but permanently. And permanent change is more powerful than temporary excitement. Wealth is not random. It is patterned behavior repeated over time. Your bank account is not luck. It is feedback. Feedback on your habits, your discipline, your thinking, your emotional control, your time horizon, your priorities. Change the pattern. The outcome changes. Not because of magic, but because of math. If this gave you clarity, subscribe. Because thinking differently is the first investment you ever make. And it costs nothing. I'll see you in the next one.